All right, Woodmen Hills Metropolitan District regular board meeting for Thursday, May 23rd, 2019 is now in session. First item, roll call. Troy Stinson present.
Sherry Ringen present.
Russell Ryder present.
Nicole Fisher present.
Carl Lucas present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Item 3 on the agenda will be executive session for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations. According to CRS 24640224E and personnel matters according to CRS 246401F1. I motion that we enter executive session for these items.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are now in executive session. We got folks coming at 7:30, so let's. Item 5, President's welcome. Welcome. Thank you guys for being patient out there. I know we were in there for a while.
I had another birthday.
Did you? So you're what, 28?
No, if only. No, I wouldn't want to go back. I'm full.
All right. Would someone like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Aye.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, approval of agenda. Item 6.
I motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval or disapproval of board minutes, item 7.
I have a correction.
Okay.
On the January 29th minutes, item 8.
I just,
Hmm?
I said I didn't change it.
You did?
Where it says January 29th, they're not January 29th minutes. Sorry.
April 25th, right?
That's true.
If you-
I read it and didn't.
Yeah, I will change it if you want to approve it with those changes.
That's not what I wanted to bring up.
Oh.
I missed that.
Oh, sorry.
Good job.
I missed that.
No, it's in number 8. It wasn't a personal matter, it was a personnel matter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I must
okay.
have mistyped that too.
Yeah, we wouldn't discuss personal matters. So, it's with Corey and I, the personnel matter that we handled. So that's all, just change the word to personnel,
Okay.
that's all. Other than the one I missed completely.
And under 10, committee for a remodel, just change that to remodel.
Oh, instead of remolded?
Sorry.
I was right in the
I think that's it.
Anything else on there?
Rachel, that was like me trying to find the word Saturday in that handbook. I've looked and looked, and I missed it 3 times.
All right, I'll motion that we approve the board minutes with those changes forthcoming.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Right, attorney's report, item 8.
Nothing new. We've put the Falcon Fields is put to bed, Highlands is put to bed. Everything's pretty much under control. What'd you say, Jerry? Yeah, Jerry and I have met and gone over stuff, and there's a review of the employee handbook in process. It'll come back at some point. There's nothing else really new going on.
All right, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
9, financial report.
I'll talk about Park and Rec. So we were closed. We didn't have any aquatic programs going on for the month of April, which is, leads into the 5,700 decrease in revenue in Park and Rec program revenue. I thought that the salaries would be a little bit lower this month, but Rachel clarified that the 2 weeks that we were closed for the deck remodel, that'll actually be reflected in the May financials.
Yeah, cause
So-
pay date was May 5th.
Yeah, so the salaries will be a little bit lower. And again, the team is doing a good job with due diligence and keeping expenses down. You can see our repairs and maintenance were quite low this last month. That's it.
Anything else on the financials?
Give me one. I don't have anything.
I just wanted to point out in wastewater, we're running really high on chemicals. And it's just due to the new plant, not, having a, how do I wanna put this, I don't know, but
Baseline?
we didn't anticipate, the chemical costs that we're incurring. That's just not something you're gonna know until you start operating the plant.
That's something we discussed at the end of last year before it came online. We discussed that would be a possibility that we
Yeah.
were gonna see that, so.
And but we did do, cleaning of cell 4, and I stopped that short of what we had budgeted, anticipating that, it would be good to bank some of that money, for anticipating the increased cost of operating a new plant, so I don't think it will be a problem. Plus, we're getting, as time goes on, it's getting more wastewater report, but we're getting a better handle on, what it's gonna take what it takes to operate that plant. Basically what we're dealing with is what they call solids handling, and, that's a key part of the, operation of that plant. It's not like it's a new expense that this plant incurred. We had the same problem with the old plant, we just didn't do it on a weekly basis, we did it on an annual basis, so it showed up differently. So at any rate, as we gain more experience, we're hoping that we can, maybe reduce our chemical costs some. And we actually had a rep there today that was going to, take a look at what we're doing, see if we can help dial it in a little bit. So, just wanted to point
You
that
guys
out.
already started plugging those numbers in for the budget? for
We will,
next year?
yep, so that was another thing, is the budget committee on the board the same as last year's?
See, why not?
Okay,
Yeah.
so then I will schedule meetings for budget, cause we will be beginning that budget process.
I have something, as a question for you though. So there's been some people that were complaining about funny taste in their water. And I did notice that, and I've got a full house filtration system, and I'm still getting that too. So, can you explain that?
No.
Is it just that we're changing wells and different wells might have different?
Source water can change. But there's just not a lot of things that can affect, the taste of water and the perception that people have.
Yeah,
If you have a whole house water filtration system, I'm gonna assume that it has an activated charcoal filter which removes
yeah,
taste and odors,
yeah.
including chlorine. So see that, I can't imagine that something's getting past that.
Well, and I wanna make sure you understand, the taste that I get isn't bad, it's just different.
Just different.
It's different, so I'm trying to figure out why it's so different.
Well, we have so many different sources, we have Larry Fox Hills
Uh-huh.
aquifers, we have
Ah, that makes
Rathboro
sense.
aquifers, Denver aquifers, alluvial aquifers, we get water from Cherokee.
Okay, so then the other question is, if somebody has an issue where their water doesn't look right, taste right, does it cost them money to get that checked, or do you guys do that?
Now, we check it.
Okay.
Well, we answer any complaints.
Okay,
We have no filtration system and ours tasted funny for a couple of days, but it's back to normal now, so.
This is.
interesting. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
it.
It's one
That's
of
all
those
I had.
things that's just very hard to pinpoint. A lot of times, you'll have a complaint about, my water smells bad. So, the
Okay.
key there is to run water into a glass and not into the drain, because and then smell the water, because as soon as you run water into the drain, it evacuates any gases in the drain up.
Right.
And so the smell and odor must be my water. No, it's your drain.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Mine
things
comes
like
out of the
that that
refrigerator.
are difficult to get people to comprehend,
yeah, and that's why I wanted to make sure, because there were some people that were asking, and I just wanted to make sure I had all the information too.
And one thing about it is, everyone's taste, everyone's a little
Taste buds.
different when it comes to taste and odors, and we can have one person on the block says their water's terrible. Well, everyone's getting the same water, so unless you had a whole neighborhood that was complaining about a water problem, it was isolated to one house, we have no control over what goes on inside that house. What plumbing they have put in. I've dealt with people that didn't have water pressure. It turned out they had a whole house water filtration system.
Oh,
and
they
never changed
changed
the
it?
filters.
Oh.
And they get nasty.
Oh,
You get that too when they flush the lines?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, we can have if there's a high volume of water that's being used, such as in flushing hydrants or a main break, there's some things that are in the water, like iron, manganese, that precipitate out in the mains, but they lay there dormant until you have a high volume of water flow, and they get stirred up, so your water can be, good quality.
Right.
You also have problems with temperature. As long as we're talking about water problems, you have water, where you take a glass of water and it holds more gases, and as soon as you pour it in the glass, it starts coming out of the liquid, and it makes your whole glass look like milk. But if you let it sit, you'll see it slowly clear from the bottom up. And it's air entrained into the water, and it's,
Yeah.
you can't control things like that.
We have
I
way
see that.
digressed from financial.
I was gonna
know,
say, this
I'm
has
aware.
nothing to do with
I see that when I
financials.
change out my refrigerator
Alright, Russ
filter.
doesn't get to talk.
But thank you for all the info on that, that's more than I needed.
And then-
Unless there's green paper coming out of my sink right now, we're not to that point
I
yet.
guarantee your wife would tell you if there
All
was.
So,
Alright, thanks.
All right.
And that was the water report.
That was financial.
We're on financials still.
You're like,
Oh,
well,
okay.
We haven't got to
Talking
that.
about
on
you're
financial
still gonna
report.
hear more from me.
Okay,
Oh, jeez.
all right, then let's move on to item 10, Parks and Rec report.
Are we gonna vote on the financials? Do you guys approve them? Or just?
I move we approve financials.
Okay.
It was back up, my bad, thanks for pointing that out.
I move to approve
I'll second.
financials.
All right, all in favor of
Aye.
approving
Aye.
financials? Aye. Motion carries. Now let's go to Parks. See what you did, Jerry? And see what you did? Parks and Rec report.
Okay, summer operations, so the outdoor pool will open Memorial Day 10 to 4, it is being filled, a couple of comments, will it be filled? Yes, it will be filled and balanced and heated, all good to go for Monday. The operation hours on Memorial Day is 10 to 4. Our hours, normally for the outdoor pool will be 10 to 6, 7 days per week, so last year it was 11 to 7, and we heard the people and we moved it to 10, it's 10 to 6. RCE, our usage since January 2019 has been 9,164, it's a 43% increase from 2018. I do attribute it to increase in our swimming lessons, but also the new equipment that we have in the cardio room. The pool deck, it was resurfaced, and we've had great response from residents. I think some of the residents in the room have seen it, and gives a thumb up, so kudos to the team for getting that done. We are increasing our outside patio areas being enhanced. We're gonna have a grill available for resident use, additional chairs and tables we're gonna be purchasing, just so that they don't always have to come to the outdoor pool, they can come to the indoor pool, get that outdoor feel, and then come on into swim. Especially that we're anticipating a very chilly month of June, and so hopefully that'll help a little bit there. CCW usage since January 19 has been 14,474. Again, the outdoor pool is filling up today, and then we'll start to heat it and balance it the next few days. We are doing the July dive-in movie, will be held at CCW as well as RCE, so we're gonna kind of utilize the outdoor pool, not just for swimming. Aquatic swim lessons, 52 this for the month of May. Private swim lessons continue to be very strong at 32. Our summer swim lessons will begin June 3rd, and we always over the summer have AM and PM classes. Spring soccer concluded this last Saturday. T-ball registration begins May 28th, and the teams are full capacity. Excuse me, the registration doesn't begin, it begins on May 28th. Meridian Ranch in Woodmen Hills, we met with Meridian Ranch Park and Rec the other day, and we're gonna start collaborating on some indoor youth sports, utilizing their gym facility, basketball, indoor soccer to start. So that's really positive for the two different areas out here in Falcon. Parent Night Out, it's a strong program for us. In June, July, we will have 2 Parents Night Out each month. Bingo will only go 1 per month this year based on historical usage, and that'll be the second Friday of the month. Let's see, Silver Sneakers Flex HGO class will begin in June. Ryan will be the instructor, so we're gonna add another class for our Silver Sneakers. Summer fitness classes, we're adding a Zumba class during the AM time for those moms or dads that are home actually during the summer, don't have an opportunity to take classes during the school year. HIT and boot camp will be moved outside for the summer, weather permitting, which will be kind of nice for the residents. In May and June, our outdoor pool opens May 28th, summer hours begin May 29th. Of course, we do our team in service every month, summer fitness classes. T-ball begins May 28th, bingo June 14th, our parents' night out, the 2 nights. We do have a Nightways youth lock-in that will be here at the outdoor pool from 7 until 9 p.m. Our yard sale, and we're doing it the same date as Meridian Ranch. We reached out to them to see if they would do it the same weekend we are. So it's June 15th and 16th. So get that nicely used stuff that you guys don't want anymore and get it out there. Mini camp begins June 18th, 19th, and 20th, and then June 25, 26, 27. Summer swim lessons begin June 3rd, and then the dive-in movie inside will be June 21st.
I have a question.
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
this never happens till it happens. Insurance. Do you need to tell the insurance company about those fire pits that you're adding?
We're not adding fire pits.
Or whatever? you-
The barbecue grills?
Barbecue grills.
Oh, no, it's just a gas grill. I don't think we'd have to check that.
Why don't you? 'Cause
Yeah, sure.
you never know that they're
Sure.
trying to turn down the claim till you make the claim, and they say, well, you never told us
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, and what we will do, the residents can use it, but it'll be locked, so they get a key from us. and
Okay,
they
I'm
unlock
just
it,
saying,
use it. Yeah,
let the carrier
absolutely.
know, and then
Yep.
they can't complain they didn't know.
Yep, Rachel and I will work on that.
All right.
Water and wastewater.
All right, one thing I wanna point out about wastewater is, we're kind of doing a PR thing on what people should be, or shouldn't be, I should say, flushing down their toilets. Because it causes major maintenance nightmares for us. The emphasis is, don't put this stuff, even though the package says it's flushable, that a lot of stuff you can flush down the toilet. Kids sometimes have a contest to see what they can flush down a toilet. The thing about it is that it increases your costs as a resident. We've had people complain or call us, my sewer's backing up. Yes, because you are putting all this stuff down your drain, and it's plugging your sewer. That's the problem. So it's costing you money, plus we're trying to keep your rates down and it causes us more maintenance, and so obviously it's gonna affect your rate. So Danny's been helping me, put stuff on the website stuff. It's part of what we hope to do if we decide to go to do anything with Falcon Freedom Days, have a booth, you know, be able to, educate people. It is a huge problem in the industry, huge problem in the industry.
I thought if it fits, it ships.
So, that's something, so.
Kirk, did you teach him that?
So we don't
You
want,
taught him this guy?
we don't want Mr. Ryder as the spokesperson
That's right.
for this
Thank you.
PR campaign.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is, especially because it's probably gonna affect a board member or two, anyway, we have a water leak.
Yeah, it's right in front of
And
us.
because of the way things were done back in the day, they didn't install enough valves so we can isolate small areas. So I think they said it could be up to like 60 homes that'll be out of service.
How many?
60
Wow, one day.
for one day. But when we do the repair, we'll be installing more valves along with the repair so that we can isolate smaller areas. And that's the goal, you know, water department is to be able to isolate as small area as possible, inconvenience as few
Are we
people as
notifying
possible
all that?
to do a repair. What?
We're
Yeah.
notifying all of them when it's gonna be shut
Absolutely.
off.
Yeah, we have door tags for all the houses.
We'll be notifying everybody in advance, yeah, so.
Yeah, there was a door hanger today.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
So those are the couple things that I really wanted to point out.
That's the
I
guy
think
walking
our
over here.
odors are under control at the wastewater plant, I haven't had any complaints lately.
Oh, that was a big thing on Nextdoor and Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and they were blaming it all on the new wastewater treatment plant, but.
Well, it's not, it's, you know, we still have 3 wastewater lagoons left over from the old operation, and, one of them was being cleaned. We inconvenienced people by having trucks on Stapleton that were loading less sludge, and, it caused odors. I mean, that's just, was part of the operation of the old wastewater plant.
I didn't smell a thing at my house.
And lift station 1, is this work, they've already started on it?
They're started on, it, yeah, of course, we've had weather setbacks, but
And where's lift station 1 again?
it's over by the school on Falcon Highway.
Falcon Elementary there.
It's very easy to miss because there's not much above ground right now. When the new lift station is done, you'll definitely see it, so. And by the way, that old lift station, the condition of that old lift station was not due to lack of maintenance. You can't compare a can on the ground to a ship that can be pulled into dry dock, you know, so I just wanted to know that.
It's a good announcement.
Awesome.
That was very good.
All right. Resolution regarding meeting start times. So the resolution states that we're keeping meetings on the 4th Thursday of each month. January through October, 3rd Thursday of November and December. And no set time in the resolution, the board will direct the time. And it'll be posted. And we also discussed the signs and stuff being changed. Public session starts at 5:30, and then if we have executive session, we'll go into executive session. So, all right, it's resolution 2019-5-23, and I motion that we approve the resolution as written. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, all right, resolution passes. Secretary. Next item was the
Highlands participation about 3 days.
Okay, so I sent out the flyer to everybody, did everybody get a chance to see it, or did everybody get it?
I did not get it.
I saw the flyer. I saw it.
So what the deal is every year Meridian has Falcon Freedom Days. And, it coincides with 4th of July. This year it's on June 29th, I believe. At any rate, they have different levels of sponsorship from $250 up to $1,500. They've asked us to be a sponsor, as they also asked Paintbrush Hills. And, so, Paintbrush Hills had, not that we have to do exactly what they do, but they, are sponsors to the $500 level. And with the $500 level, I didn't bring the flyer, but I know that, it entitles us to a booth, which is $150 value. Also, they provide for us vouchers for I think it was 4 rounds of golf. And, anyway, we've done it in the past. It's been kind of a hit and miss thing, but,
4 rounds of golf for everybody in the district?
yeah, 4 rounds of golf.
Who gets those
Oh,
4
I
rounds?
pulled, I could try to bend their arm and see if I can get, 2,700 times. But, anyway, so I didn't wanna go ahead and make and say yes to it without, I mean, it is, I'm thinking a $500 commitment, so just wanted to know if you guys were interested in participating in it. We've talked about, the possibility of at least having a booth over there. Talked to Corey about it a little bit, I don't know how much PR we can really accomplish there. There's people from all over that come to it. But, but we've done it in the past. We've had our trucks on display, our cameras on display. I don't think that's a possibility anymore. The space that they have is limited. They used to have it where that, development across from along Stapleton is not, they used to have that whole field open for this. And then, of course, they have a fireworks display also, which they spend, quite a bit of money on fireworks.
Bless you.
Okay.
Bless him.
Bless him, yeah.
Yeah, it was, last time it was done, we did it in 2017, and it's kind of funny, but we had up the renovation pictures in 2017 for people to come by and look at. And, I think that's about all we had there. And, a couple of board members showed up and then they kind of left. And, you have people like Domino's and I think the chiropractor, I'm not sure about the vet, Mountain
It's
View
hard to get to
Electric.
too, you also have to look at it this way, because people have to park out. You have people that, because a lot of people that live on those streets there block it off, so you cannot park. So you have a long walk.
What's the advantage to us being with a booth over there?
Well, that's what I got out of 2017. It really was nothing. It's not like we're,
That's why I say, I don't know what the PR value is. I mean, I've attended a booth there, for Woodmen Hills in the past. It's just, putting a face with the entity and putting a good foot forward. Supporting, our neighbors in this activity. Like I said, they do have they do put on a fireworks show, so.
it's a lot, I mean, you get a lot of people, but you get them from all over and they are intoxicated quite a bit. I know, right? I don't know why they would be, but they are, so.
What do you
I
guys
don't see the advantage to
We
that.
weren't talking about you.
I assume we're talking about the 4th of July.
It's just, you're just giving the money. I wouldn't.
I don't see any gain from it, really.
Okay.
I don't see a gain from it.
that was just what we've done in the past, you know, but,
I mean, is there
I'm
an
good.
advantage for giving back to, I mean, is there something to give back to the community would be my response to that. You're gonna spend $500 of the community's money for the booth. Is there something that they're gonna gain, the community gonna gain out of having that booth out there? There's only 4 golf passes, so.
well, they had contacted me about this, I told them I'd bring it before you, that's all.
We didn't do it last year.
Okay,
Yeah, I didn't think so.
yes.
Well, it's visibility, you know, for the community, hey, we're here and we're supporting you, kind of thing. So that's one thing of it. The other thing that was, I thought, my first thought when you said the 4 golf passes, hold a raffle, get some of that money back, so you can raffle off each of the 4. I don't know if it's legal or whatever, but that was, something that you do. And lastly, it says WGMD participation, is that just a typo?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
typo.
updated it.
Well, what was on the table was what I picked up.
Printed off the wrong one.
Yeah, I don't have that.
I did update it.
Well, I think
Yeah, it was in
I
the
just-
first
Well, let's
draft.
hold a booth and have
Yeah,
WGMD pay for it.
Okay.
Right.
There you go.
Did we change our name?
Woodman's good, Metro District.
Yeah, I just don't think there's a major benefit to the community. I mean, I think there's something to be said that we do something later in the summer to give back to the community.
It doesn't bother me, I didn't wanna have to appoint someone to attend the booth anyways, you know.
And I have
Make it
a
happen.
question about the golf course anyway, but we'll get to that in other business.
Right.
Just a rumor thing that we'll get to that.
That was a good time.
All right.
You guys are perfect timing.
Good.
We are ready for the audit presentation.
All right. Pass on a couple of reports here first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, my name's Steve Hoxter. I'm one of the partners with the firm Stockton Cast Ryan Company, who you've engaged to perform your audit. And we appreciate the opportunity to work for the district. With me is Courtney Vance. Courtney's one of our audit seniors, and she was the individual who was responsible for coordinating and completing the audit. And we have 2 different reports to go through. One is a letter report, which is the top one in your packet, and Courtney's gonna walk you through that, and then I'll walk you through the draft of the financial statements themselves.
Alright, so the letter is basically professional standards require that we communicate these items to those charged with government. All the items are either positive or neutral in nature. We have nothing negative to communicate. I'll start right under the bold significant audit findings under qualitative aspects of accounting practices. This basically says that management is responsible for the accounting policies, which are described in note 1 of the financial statements. No new accounting policies were adopted during the year, and the application of existing policies did not change. This is important because it basically means that the financial statements are comparable between years. All financial statements have accounting estimates. The most sensitive estimates affecting the district include the allowance for doubtful accounts and the estimated useful lives of capital assets. We determined these estimates were reasonable. On the next page, difficulties encountered in performing the audit, we had none. Corrected and uncorrected misstatements. As a result of our audit, we found the following misstatements which were corrected by management. Disagreements with management, we had none. Management representations, this says essentially at the end of the audit, we will request management to sign a representation letter. And then management consultations with other independent accountants. This paragraph talks about how management may opinion shop with other accountants to get a better audit opinion. To our knowledge, this has not occurred. Other audit findings or issues. This basically says that there's an open communication with management to discuss any accounting or auditing questions. and that our responses were not the condition of our retention. Then on the final page, report on supplemental information, there's a supplemental budget schedule at the end of the audit report, which we compared to the financial statements and determined that it was reasonable. That sums up the governance letter.
I think the takeaway from that letter is that, in a nutshell, the audit went well. So I'll walk through the draft of the report itself. If you flip to the first page, after the table of contents, it's the third page in. It's the page that's titled Independent Auditor's Report. These two pages are our report on your financial statements. I'll just walk you through the key items here. The first paragraph is just simply stating that the audit's being performed for the year ended December 31st, 2018. And it also includes 2017 audited financial statements. The next section, management's responsibility for the financial statements. While as part of our audit, we do prepare this document, ultimately management is responsible for the fair presentation of the financial statements. Management's also responsible for designing, implementing, and maintaining a system of internal controls for the fair presentation of the financial statements. Our responsibilities are outlined in the next three paragraphs, where essentially our responsibilities is to perform the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards for purposes of expressing an opinion on the financial statements. And that opinion is at the bottom of this page, where we state the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. That's the highest level of assurance that CPAs give on financials. So as a board, it's the type of opinion you want to receive from your auditors. Then over on the top of page 2, this report continues. And it talks about some of the supplemental information. The first section talks about management's discussion and analysis, which is on pages 3 through 6. As part of our audit, we do not express an opinion on that section of the report. And then the next paragraph discusses the supplemental information that's at the back of the report. And as part of our audit, we do agree that information to the underlying financial records, and the opinions in the last paragraph, or the last sentence there, where we say the information is fairly stated in all material respects. So again, that's the type of opinion that you want to receive on your financials. So pages 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is what's referred to as the management discussion and analysis. It's really management's narrative overview of the significant financial issues and the major financial activity of the district. So I'm not going to go through these 4 pages. I'll turn you to page 7, which is the start to the financial statements themselves. Page 7, as it's titled, is the statement of net position. So it shows the net position of the district as of the end of 2017 and 2018. I'll just walk through what I think are some of the key items. If you look at your the first section, your total current assets increased from 12.9 million to 14.4, which is an increase of $1.5 million. That increase is in the first line. You can see your cash and cash equivalents increased by that same amount, $1.5 million. Moving down to the next section, which is titled non-current assets. This consists of your capital assets, then your cash and cash equivalents that are restricted. And you can see in total, looking at those subtotals, your total non-current assets between the 2 years were consistent at $59 million, but there's a fairly significant change within the makeup of that category. You can see you used about $9 million of your restricted cash and cash equivalents, decreased from 10.9 to 1.9. So that was used towards purchases of capital assets. You can see your capital assets, the depreciable increased by about that same $9 million. You had purchases of $11 million, and you recognized depreciation of $2 million to give you that net change of 9. Now moving down to your liabilities. Your current liabilities increased by about $520,000 from 1.4 to 1.9. You can see that increase is really entirely made up in that first line. Your accounts payables increased by $540,000, excuse me. The reason for that increase in accounts payables, it relates entirely to retainage payable at year end. So on your construction projects, it's typical that a portion is held back. That portion that's held back is reflected as part of your accounts payable. So there's about $540,000 included in accounts payable related to those retainages. Your long-term liabilities are your capital leases, your bonds payable, and some unearned revenue. Your long-term liabilities decreased from $33.1 million to $32.1, so it's a decrease of $1 million. Decrease is simply the result of payments on your long-term debt. Then your net position, the last section, mathematically it's your total assets less your liabilities, and it will increase or decrease as a result of net income or net loss. And you can see your net position increased from $38 million to $39.9, so it's an increase of $1.9 million. And the reasons behind that increase is reflected on the next page. The next page is a statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position.
Page number, please.
Page 8. So I'm going to jump you around here just a little bit. If you go down to the third line from the bottom, it's the line that's titled change in net position. That's the governmental terminology for net income or net loss. So if you look at that first numerical column, you can see your net income was $1.9 million compared to the prior year, a net income of 1.1. Obviously an increase of about $800,000. And that increase is a result of an increase in revenue and a decrease in expenses. If you move up to the top and look at your operating revenues, your water and wastewater user fees increased $350,000 from $5 million to $5,373,000. The other significant increases within the category, that's just the other fees. You had an increase there of a couple $100,000. It's primarily the result of an increase in installations. Then your operating expenses. Your operating expenses decreased from $6 million to $5,887,000. It's a decrease of about $120,000. And that decrease is reflected in the first line of your operating expenses, your wages and employee expenses. You can see decrease 1.97 to $1,837,000. So look at that, the net effect of that is your decrease in expenses and an increase in the revenues resulted in an overall increase in your net income. That section down there at the bottom, non-operating revenues and expenses are pretty consistent between the 2 years. So moving over to the next page, page 9. Page 9 is a statement of cash flows. This statement shows the operations of the district from a cash flow perspective rather than a revenue and expense standpoint. And it's broken out into 3 categories: operating activities, capital and related financing, and then investing activities. And you can see in the first category, your operating activities, cash was provided of $4.6 million in operations compared to 2.9 in the prior year. That increase, as you might guess, is simply the result of the increase in the net income compared to the 2 years. You did use $12 million in your capital and related financing activities, the next category. And you can see that's a result of the acquisition of capital assets. You spent $10,836,000 on acquisition of capital assets.
That's the sewer plant.
Yep. And then your investing activities, simply interest income of $150,000. So the net effect is your cash overall decreased $7.4 million. You started the year with 22 and ended the year with 15. But if you look out again at the makeup of your cash cash that's available for operations actually increased, and then that restricted cash decreased. And page 10 is a continuation of the statement of cash flows, and it's arriving at that first category. That first category that we looked at was the operating activities. It's just arriving at that same $4,650,000 from a different direction, starting with your operating income and then adjusting for activities that have a different impact on operating income as it does on cash flows. So moving over to page 11. Page 11 is to start with the notes of financial statements. The first note is a summary of your significant accounting policies. And it's on pages 11, 12, and through the middle of page 13. And really the main thing to mention here is what Courtney mentioned early on in the governance letter. Your accounting policies in 2018 are identical to 2017. As a result, the description that you have in the report is identical to the prior year. The more significant disclosures start on page 14. On page 14, note 3 is the disclosure of your capital assets. So the first column shows your balances at the beginning of the year. The second column is increases. Excuse me, so you can see the increases and decreases that you have in various categories. You recognize depreciation expense of $1.9 million. To give you that overall net change of about $9 million, you started the year at 48 million, into the year is 57 million in capital assets. You have a similar schedule on page 15 for the prior year, for 2017. Then beginning on page 16 is a disclosure of your long-term debt. At the top of page 16 is a table that shows the activity within your debt, which fairly straightforward. The decreases are simply the principal payments on your long-term debt. You can see the beginning balance as well as the ending balance for 2018. Then the second table is identical information for 2017. Then beginning at the lower half of page 16, and it continues on over to pages 17 and 18, are disclosures of the basic terms of your debt. At the top of page 17 is a schedule that shows the principal and interest payments for the remaining terms. And on page 18 is a similar schedule for your lease application. The principal and interest obligations for the duration of that debt as well. Note 5 is a disclosure that you've had in the report for the past few years related to the obligation that you had to the Colorado Department of Public Health related to the non-compliance issue. I think really the key communication is that last sentence that says the final payment was made in 2018. As a result, you have that obligation behind you. Note 6 is the disclosure of risk management. This is a fairly standard disclosure in governmental reports. And primarily just disclosing that you are exposed to various risks and losses, and that the district does carry commercial insurance to cover those risks. At the top of page 19, note 7 discloses of your net position, what portion is restricted for certain purposes. Note 8 is a disclosure of TABOR, indicating the main paragraph, or the main statement is really the second paragraph, the second to the last sentence, where you're indicating that the district believes it is in compliance with the requirements of the TABOR amendment. Note 9 discloses the benefit plan that you have in place. And the last sentence of that paragraph discloses what the contributions were. The contributions were made into the plan in both 2018 and 17. Then at the bottom of page 19, and it continues over to page 20, is a disclosure of various commitments and contingencies that you have. I think really the key communication to this note is the continuation of that first paragraph, but at the top of page 20, indicating that the district does feel that they're in compliance at the end of 2018. And flipping over to the next page is just really a breaking page. If you flip over to page 21. Page 21 is a disclosure of your revenues and expenses. actual revenues and expenses compared to your budgeted amounts. And just looking at the subtotals, you can see your revenues, your actual results exceeded budget by $300,000. Your expenditures were less than budget by $2.7 million. So the net effect is your, again, sort of borrowing for-profit terminologies, your revenues exceeded your expenses by $2.8 million, almost 2.9, which was $3 million than budgeted. In the lower section, there is a reconciliation of these actual results back to the statement of activities that we looked at on page 9 or 10 earlier in the report. So that's sort of a brief overview of your financial results, but as Courtney pointed out, there were no significant adjustments, so there were really no significant changes to your financial statements, so I suspect nothing in here was a surprise to anybody. Are there any questions?
Yes?
I have a bunch.
All right, go ahead.
You want me to or no?
Go ahead.
All right.
While we have them here.
All right. On page 20, there's a discussion about agreement with another district which would require construction costs by the district of $7 million. What is this for?
2015, is that four-way?
I'm pretty sure it's four-way.
Four-way ranch?
So something is under construction, which
No.
will involve a $7 million expense by the district?
Not right now, it's on hold. Everything's on hold with four-way.
It says district is committed to expand and spend $7 million. So is there approval to spend that and that just that's on hold, or has it not been approved?
I have to research that, I don't know.
Okay, it's not a small number, obviously.
No, it's a significant amount, yeah. It's related in an initial payment in the previous year of a
213?
yeah, a couple $100,000 towards it, but,
Okay, what is to be built with the $7 million?
That was their payment, and that their percentage of the wastewater treatment facility.
I don't know, I'm
Do
just
you have a
reading what it
copy of it,
says.
Jerry? Do you have a copy of this?
No.
Do you wanna see it?
Oh, I'm sorry, sure.
My understanding of that is the 213 is what four-way paid.
Yeah,
They are obligated to a percentage of the wastewater treatment facility, of which we have not received payment for yet under that agreement.
but is the district taking on a $7 million obligation is what I'm asking?
I think he's reading it that we're paying the $7 million, not
Wasn't the
four-way.
original estimate on the wastewater treatment facility was $7 million?
And so the district was committed to building a new wastewater plant, but not because of four-way.
I'm just reading what it says.
Yeah.
The district has committed to expand to support the development. Construction costs are estimated to be $7 million. So I'm just asking, does the district take on a $7 million obligation or
That was in
not?
2015.
I'm not disagreeing.
I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of past that, we've already.
Okay.
No, I'm sure when you pull up the four-way agreement, when you go back,
Okay.
the original agreement had nothing to do with the $7 million was what we were originally
Stopped it.
Okay.
going to pay for the wastewater treatment facility. Now, four-way was obligated for a percentage of that,
The 1.5.
which they haven't paid. Now, the wastewater treatment facility was then expanded. It was increased in size. So that, hence the 12, what did we come in, 12?
Just under 12.
Just under 12.
So in your statements, are you accepting those numbers, including those numbers, excluding these numbers, not dealing with these numbers?
like I said, I mean, my understanding is that commitment is still out there.
Not for $7 million, the
That's what I keep
wastewater
asking.
treatment facility.
I think
is-
he's got something.
So the four-way agreement from October 2014 says, whereas the current cost of the wastewater treatment facility expansion is estimated at $6.995 million.
Which was our discussion when I brought up the fact when we were discussing Four-Way Ranch, about the fact that the numbers in the appendix in that original agreement, if we were to move forward, need to change, because the cost of the wastewater treatment facility changed, so their percentage would be greater than.
And I believe that was a
Originally
1.0
in there.
MGD plan, and
Yes.
we have 1.3.
Yeah,
And of
remember about the
course,
increase.
What was the year on that again?
October 2014.
So,
And this says in December 31, 2015, there's an agreement.
Which was prior to bond refinancing, and yes,
Okay,
that original agreement with Four-Way was 15, I believe.
so do you need to amend your audit comments?
No, that's still factual.
I'm just asking.
I guess that's a question to you, is it, if this is no longer factual, yeah, this should be removed. If it is factual,
This agreement with Four-Way is still an agreement, a factual agreement.
Okay, I'll move on.
So you can't just do away with it, it's still a factual agreement.
Okay. Rachel, I want to draw you into this next question.
Okay.
The district administers public finance authority. And I don't know if our administration of that entity gets included in this audit. And a major side piece to that is that a Form 990 was just completed, and there's like $6 or $7 million involved in activity in that. And I'm really just asking the question, does the PFA activity, which is administered by this district, get drawn into the audit?
No, it's its own entity, so it has its own financials, everything is separate from our financials.
Okay, so it does not need to be considered in this?
no, it's not, should not be combined as part of these.
Fair enough,
financials.
okay.
Does it have its own audit?
It should have its own audit, but since it's been zeroed, I mean, there's not much to audit there.
But it went through this huge change from 17 to 18, and the goal is to zero that thing out and not have to worry about it anymore, but I just concerned is, are we supposed to be reporting to somebody or putting it in something that this has occurred?
We reported to the IRS.
In the 990?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Both of which have been accepted now,
So-
17 and 18.
So there's nothing else to do, that's what y'all are telling me?
Other than,
Are you thinking we need an audit on the PFA?
No, I'm not suggesting that. Sometimes when there's a subsidiary of a general company, then that subsidiary's financials flow into the general. Okay, and so I'm asking, we've got this, it's not a legal subsidiary per se, but the district is administering it. I wanted to make sure its financials didn't flow into the district's financials. Okay, all right. All right, then see, I told you I had questions. On pages 5 and 6, I'm doing this thing cold for the first time here. It's talking about a variety of activity with various other districts. And Jerry, have you seen this before now to know that these assumptions are right?
Is that the management
That's
discussion?
the MD now,
Yeah,
yeah.
Jerry is the one who filled it out, so.
Okay, so for example, Balkan Highlands Metropolitan District hasn't solved their water supply issues, and the water supply is inadequate to continue development.
That was true as of end of 2018.
Okay, all right, so, and Bent Grass developer suspended the project after completion of the first 104 lots. That's true?
As of 2018.
Okay, well, there's just a whole series of these, Jerry. If you're comfortable with them, fine. There's a lot of, we can't do it, we ran out of money observations in here.
yeah, this is all true.
Okay, that's my questions. There's just a lot of assumptions in that section.
Courtyard West is the one, that's the one that's the only one left for the PFA thing
Yes.
to be closed out.
Isn't that the one, Rachel, after we pay off 21 more, then the tap fees come to the district thereafter.
Yes, correct.
Future, it's
It flips.
potentially a significant source of income.
Yes.
Yeah, it flips.
Yeah, so we're almost done with that one.
Yeah, and then the revenue, which goes, actually, John, back to your question back earlier this evening, this is potentially a very significant source of income. Once the bond stuff is paid off, of which there's relatively little left, then the money thereafter stays with the district. Okay. All right, I'll shut up. Rarely.
Thank you.
For how long?
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
With that being said, any questions? We have the auditors here. No, no, no?
I can ask them whenever I want.
Thank you all very much.
You bet, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Again, I appreciate the opportunity to put the phone on. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm actually worried about it. Which is weird.
What? I can't remember last year. What do you need from us for the audit? Do we need to accept it?
I do believe that
Motion to accept it?
you have to accept the audit.
Because I thought we weren't even getting presented it until next month.
Right.
That was a June deal.
I have a silly question like always.
Blue.
We budgeted for how much in 2018? What was our total budget?
Oh, I don't know.
I know.
I'd have to go back and look at it.
And we came in
Almost-
revenue 2 million dollars
2.9.
above what we budgeted for.
The budget for 2018 total,
I think we came in over on revenue just a little bit, but under on expenses by a lot.
Yeah, that's where we made up the.
Yeah.
Sounds like no rate increase next year.
That's the hope.
That's the goal.
That's the
So
goal.
that
Good
brings
job,
up,
guys.
That's the
that
goal.
brings up another question. I heard the other day that the bondholders
Yeah.
required us to,
no, that's,
No,
Okay, then never mind, sorry.
She reads minds.
yes, very good.
One thing that
Yes.
his report jogged my memory, sorry, I forgot about this, but all the signatures have been acquired
Oh.
and they've been recorded with the county on
For bank
press, so that project's moving forward.
You might wanna let Ron know that so he can put it on his website.
Don't look at me.
Say.
I was gonna say, you're his neighbor, aren't you?
No other, so do you need a motion from the board accepting the audit?
I say yes. We might as well just do it, so then we're in compliance with
Or do you
everything.
guys want until next meeting to review it?
Or-
I'm good with now, but it's up to you. Majority rules.
Alright. Okay, let's move forward and then accept it, or?
I move that we accept the audit as presented by the auditors, the audit report.
I will second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, item 15, public comment regarding current board business not on the agenda. Are there any back there, Jerry?
Nada,
None.
nada.
All right.
I have one.
Oh,
Great job on that audit. I think they did an outstanding job from what
Plus work.
we just
Thank
heard.
you.
My understanding is they finished 2 days early, so good job. Good work.
Thank you.
Good work. Other business. Just one question. Can you get with Meridian Ranch and see what the plans are? Because I know we have an agreement with the golf course thing, but I'm hearing rumors that the golf course is closing down over there next year.
I haven't heard that.
I did.
That Springs Ranch are
Did you hear that?
2 golf
Oh,
courses in the
yeah.
region that are closing down next year. So just find out if there's any, if that's gonna save us money, or if it's gonna be a loss of revenue, how it's gonna affect us with the golf course. My understanding is they're selling, they're gonna build more housing tracks on it.
Wow.
Is that in,
That happens off of Powers, right? Maybe you don't know. That happened to another golf course, and I think a lot of the residents got confused because somebody posted it on Nextdoor from one of the other communities, and they thought it was our golf course.
Ah,
Well, people
So
that have
just
played
have-
out here are told me that they're telling people that it is closing next year.
Really?
Well,
And I
you know,
just
'cause a lot
wanna
of
get,
that golf course is within
Bless you.
our
Bless you.
district,
Thank
so-
you.
well, and that's my concern
Yeah.
is we have filing 11 has an HOA because of it being on that golf course. So there are a lot of future ramifications that could impact the district based on if it stays or goes.
I know Glen Eagle closed their golf course,
Yeah.
but they were built out and they, you know,
Last time.
golf
Thank you all.
courses aren't a moneymaker, so. You typically,
No, there goes Freedom Days for next year.
Sounds like more tap fees.
All right, any other business? Okay, I will motion for adjournment.
Second.
Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rachel.
Meeting
Okay.